Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ashley if you're new here. This is my first official garden tour video. I'm a brand new gardener. This is my first year. I've made a lot of mistakes thus far and I'm certain there are many more to come, but it's all a learning experience. I am gardening in my backyard in zone 8A. I'm in South Carolina, so it is hot. It is humid. We have a long growing season. I'm excited to show you guys around my garden. It's small now. It's going to grow quite a bit over this fall and winter as we build new beds and get those prepared for what I'm hoping will be a fairly grand garden next spring. I'm excited to capture that journey. I am so excited to have a record of how my garden is growing, the things that I'm learning, and I'm excited to share those things with you guys. All right guys, I am doing this video with my big camera. It's very heavy, so forgive me if it's a little bit shaky. I need to get a lighter tripod to make this a little bit easier. So I figured that today we would start over with my original garden space. Back here behind me, this bed here, and then that one down there with the watermelons. I planted those, gosh, late May, I believe it was. Very late in the season, just kind of like on a whim. Might as well try it. We'll throw in some tomatoes and peppers and see what happens. I did very little soil amendment. I mean, like I took a bag of black cow and kind of spread it around and raked it in a bit. And they've done okay-ish. But these beds next year will strictly be flower beds. I won't be growing any food in these two beds. I'm gonna stick to raised beds for growing food. The soil is just, it's clay. It's clay with just a little bit of sand mixed in. Our soil here is so hard in South Carolina. But let me show you what I have growing here now. So these are my 4 bell pepper plants. I am learning that the wait for bell peppers to ripen is excruciating. I honestly don't know that I'm going to grow bell peppers next year. I'm going to grow sweet peppers, but I think I'm gonna try some different varieties. This plant, just these 2 in the back are just not very healthy. These 2 up front have done slightly better. Now this is my purple bell pepper, and I actually really like this one because the fruits start out yellow, like a bright yellowy green. Let's see if I can find one that's a little bit further along. Like that, and they ripen to this purple color fairly quickly. So this is an enjoyable bell pepper to grow. It doesn't take forever. These guys though, not a big fan. Now maybe if the soil was better, they would ripen faster. I don't really know. Over here we have my tomatoes. These, I have just been hacking off diseased leaves and stems for a while now, so they look pretty bare in the foliage department. That was not a hornworm, that was me. I'm just trying to keep them as healthy as possible so that they'll keep growing through the end of the season, because I only have these couple of plants right now. I have the yellow pear cherry tomatoes, and then these I think are, oh, they're a slicer. I think maybe it was Better Boy. I bought the plants at Lowe's and I don't really remember what the varieties are, but it has done fairly well for me once it got more established. So I've had a few tomatoes here and there. I'm excited for next year. At some point I'll probably do a video and show you guys my seed collection that's a little bit absurd and out of hand, but I'm excited for all of the plans for next year. And then this back here is a tomato that a friend gave me. It appears to be some sort of cherry, but I don't actually know because none of them have ripened quite yet. Like I said, I've made tons of mistakes as far as where I planted them, growing distances, pruning, all of that, and yet they're still giving me fruit. So I really feel like if I can keep these plants alive, anyone can garden. I always thought I had a black thumb. I'm learning not to speak that, black thumb over myself. I can grow food. I can grow flowers. I can grow things. And it's very exciting to watch. So these guys here are blueberries. These are legacy blueberries, and this is a bright well. that I picked up from Lowe's this year, and the Brightwell appears to be doing well. This one not so much, but we'll see what happens. We'll give it over the winter and see how it does next spring. This is my eggplant that a friend of mine pulled out of her garden and we transplanted here. It was actually pretty well established already, and we weren't sure it was going to make it, but it did, and it's producing. This, I'm not sure the variety. It might be Ping Tung. It's like a longer, skinnier eggplant, but she couldn't remember the variety, and well, I just don't know enough about it. But I am happy that it is producing well and seems to have established well. And then down here we have my watermelons. I'm so excited about these. I have a couple kind of medium-sized up here. Still flowering. I've got these guys here, the little babies. This one I don't think fully pollinated because it hasn't really grown in a few days. And at this size, they grow very, very rapidly. So we'll see. I think this one properly pollinated because it does appear to be growing, but I guess we'll see for sure when we check back in next week. I have that guy hanging on the fence there. I have some mesh produce bags arriving from Amazon today so that I can support that so it doesn't fall as it gets heavy. And then this beauty right here. I am so excited to eat this watermelon. This has been an exercise in patience. I'm just waiting for that tendril to turn brown and dry up. I've been so tempted to just harvest it and see how it looks. I assume it's probably close to ripe, but everything I've read says wait for the tendril to turn brown fully and dry up for the best watermelon. So hopefully soon. It's been an excruciating wait for that watermelon to ripen. So now we're gonna come over here to my new garden area. So my husband built these raised beds for me. We had soil delivered from a local landscaping company, Soil and Compost. I've got some grow bags here, put up some trellises, and this is what we're planning on doing, these raised beds for the spring garden. We have 3 beds now. When all is said and done, we are going to have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 16 beds. No, 16 new beds. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Something like 16 or 17 new beds. So I think we'll have 20 beds total. We are a family of 9. We have 7 children. So for us to grow more than just enough food to eat fresh, if I hope to can salsa and marinara sauce and things like that, I have to grow a lot of food. And my kids want pickles, and one of my boys loves potatoes and wants to grow potatoes. So this is going to be a big learning adventure for the entire family. And I'm really excited to grow food with my kids. So let me show you what is in these beds. Some stuff is going to be pulled because I kind of overplanted it and now I need space for other things for fall crops. So this is going to look different next week if you come back. But I'm gonna show you how it is right now. These trellis planters I picked up at Aldi earlier this summer for around $15. They're not like the most sturdy things in the world, but they work really well for this purpose. This plant in here is a lemon cucumber, but it looks like we're getting close to getting some blossoms, so that is exciting. But this will be a lemon cucumber, which is like a round yellow cucumber. I am so thrilled with this plant. This is a Sugar Ann Snap Pea. So it'll only be a couple feet tall, and I've already succession planted a couple more in here. This one here has a blossom on it, but this little guy, I believe they grow to be 2 or 3 inches, so it's just about ready. I will probably let one of my kids have the first sugar pea from our very own garden, so that's really exciting. And I actually have a few of these stuck in random places through the garden beds, just because I think they're so beautiful. This pea plant, I didn't know that this is what like sugar pea plants looked like. And I just think it's so delicate and beautiful. I love looking at it. So I've kind of adorned the rest of my garden with a few of these in random places. Now this one here, this is one that I am probably going to be pulling out. These are cucumber melons or mouse melons or Mexican sour gherkins. They're tiny little cucumbers that look like watermelons. I figured because they were so small, they would probably grow quickly, mature quickly, and all of that, which I do believe is true. However, I didn't know that the plant itself takes a very long time to get going. So this may not produce in time. We still have, I believe, around 55 days until our estimated first frost date. So we still actually have quite a bit of growing season left for some things, but part of me wants to just leave this and hope for the best. Like you can see, this is starting to tendril up here. I don't know that it will grow fast enough for us to actually get any fruit. So it might be better to use this planter for something that I know will grow, like some more lettuces or some roots or something like that. If there's one thing that I know my kids love, it's melons. Melons of all kinds. So this bed has mostly melons in it, but I definitely overplanted the sugar baby bush watermelons. Not necessarily for a family of our size, but for a garden this size and for the space that I need, especially for putting in onions and garlic in the next month or so, I overplanted this. I have 4 hills here with sugar baby bush watermelons. Each hill has 2 plants in it. I am going to be more than likely pulling out at least these 2 hills. This hill here has done exceptionally well. It has already put off fruit, as you can see. This little guy here, I did have to hand pollinate him. I'm just not seeing very many pollinators out. So I did have to hand pollinate that, but it does look like it worked. But I'll know for sure in the next couple of days if it continues to grow. Then over here we have another little baby. I hand pollinated that one this morning. So if you look at the size of that versus the size of that first one that I showed you, it definitely appears that it pollinated correctly. So that's exciting. And then at the corners of my bed I have some zinnias, and these are just some wildflower, like just a wildflower mix that we just kind of threw in a pot that we had. But the zinnias, these I believe are the Queen Lime red zinnias. I have one in another bed that's very close to opening up and blooming, so I'm excited to see the color on those. One thing that I'm hoping to grow a lot of next year is small melons, because they can be so easily trellised and grown vertically, which will save space in the garden. So I do have a couple of small melons growing here on these trellises in this bed. One that I'm pretty sure will get fruit before the end of the season. Another that I think I probably planted too late, but I'm just gonna let it go just in case. Fingers crossed. I have some zinnias that I transplanted from my front garden bed just to kind of help make the pollinators back here happy, and then these are some of the zinnias that I planted. But these are Minnesota midget melons, and they are putting out all kinds of blooms. I believe I do see our first little female flowers coming out, so hopefully we'll have something to hand pollinate here in the next few days. And then over here on this side of the bed, we have Kajari melons. Jess at Roots and Refuge absolutely loves her Kajari melons, and so I really wanted to try them. But I just don't think that I got them in time because I had a hard time tracking down seeds. I wish that I could have planted them at the same time as I planted those other melons, but I had a hard time tracking seeds down for those. So I still have some left over. We'll try them again in the spring and hopefully have better luck. Some more transplanted zinnias just for some color back here. These are carrots that are definitely going to need to be thinned. It's just a rainbow mix. So I think 4 or 5 different colors, some purple carrots, yellow carrots, white carrots, traditional orange carrots, red carrots, all of that. Here's another pea plant. Here's one of those that I just stuck in the garden. So on to bed number 2. we're gonna talk about these in a minute. These have been such a frustration for me. But first I'll show you these that are doing so beautifully. These are bait alpha cucumbers, so they're a smaller, slightly smaller variety. I already have some. I've already got some little female fruits there, just waiting for those blossoms to open. So I've got these two trellising up here. You go away. Darn beetles. There's another pea plant there. And then you can see back here, then along this strip here, I have some different radishes planted. I have golden helios, butter globe, and white icicle. I don't actually know if I like radishes, but Jess says they're really good roasted, so I'm gonna give that a go. I'll give it a shot this year. Now these are my dragon tongue bush beans. As you can see, they are not happy. I have been unable to figure out what has been wrong with these plants, and I finally figured it out yesterday. I'm wondering if there's any on here now that you'll see fly away. I had white flies, and so the pest pressure on them was so great that they were just really struggling to grow and be healthy. But they are recovering. They are recovering nicely. I have full faith that they will perk up and produce some delicious beans for us. We've already got a blossom down there, a couple small blossoms in here. I have hope. Now these are bush beans, but I did hear somebody say that they will climb if you give them something to climb. So I just made this little teepee. This is all an experiment, you guys. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm having fun learning. This is a beautiful basil that a friend of mine gave me from her garden, and it has just shot up. Oh, it smells so good. Now that I've shaken it up, it smells like basil out here. This was another experiment. I don't think there's any way in heck that these are going to grow enough to actually produce fruit. So I'm really torn. These are cherry tomatoes, just red cherries, and then these are Italian ice. So they're just like a pale, creamy yellow cherry tomato. I don't really know why I thought that I would have enough time, but I think I was just excited to put things in the ground. I'm going to plant some root veggies and things in between these, because I don't really think that these are going to actually have time over the next 55 days to produce anything edible. I'm not going to tear them out just yet because I just don't have the heart to do it, but I am going to plant around them. Here is that queen lime red zinnia that's so close to blooming. I cannot wait to see what that looks like. And here we have some teeny tiny little broccoli sprouts. I know that brassicas and things like broccoli and cabbage, cauliflower, those kinds of things do better started inside a little bit earlier. I didn't have anywhere to start them inside, so it was either direct sow them and hope for the best, or don't try to grow them at all. And my line of thinking was better to at least try and fail than to not try and, you know, what, I'm taking a small risk. It's a few seeds. If it doesn't work, then I'll know it doesn't work, and I'll know that I have to start them inside next year. But I have heard some people say that while some plants, you know, it's better to start them inside, that almost every plant will actually do better direct sown. It makes them stronger. I don't know. What do you guys think? If you are gardeners, what's your line of thinking on that? Do you think that most plants actually do better in the long run if they're direct sown, or do you think it's always best to start certain things inside and transplant them out after a time? Like I said, it's all learning. There's nothing to see here, but there are parsnips planted here. But they take 18 to 21 days to germinate, so I'm still just patiently waiting for those to come up. Bed number 3, friends, we have Sweet Bantam 12-row corn. This was one that I had seen recommended from Baker Creek as one to grow late season because it's supposed to grow and mature quickly. We'll see what happens. I thought it was worth a shot. I have a couple kids that absolutely love corn. Got some little cabbages here. I'm definitely gonna have to thin these. This is not a marigold, a calendula. Over here I have some Thumbelina carrots, and no, these are the Parisians. my baby tore out my garden stakes, but thankfully I did remember. This is where I planted the Thumbelinas. This is where I planted the Parisians. They're just small round carrots. But either one of my cats or one of the neighborhood cats tore through this bed. They kind of saved me the job of thinning. They did it for me. But I have some other carrots on the way that I'll probably plant a little more in here and maybe kind of down here. This is my herb wheel. So I have cilantro growing there. This is lemon balm. And then I had started some dill seeds, but they didn't germinate. So I just picked up a dill at Lowe's because I am going to have some cucumbers when those bait alphas come in, and we might want to make some fridge pickles. So I wanted to have some dill. Growing here under the shade of the corn, we have Tom Thumb lettuce. So it's a small head lettuce. I'm going to plant some additional seeds. Not everything germinated. Some of them are just popping up just singly, and that's fine. And some of them are coming up in bunches, and that's also fine because you can harvest them small or you can let them grow to full heads. So I'm just gonna let them be. I'm not gonna try to thin those at all. And then under here we have Rondinese zucchini, which honestly I had kind of a brain fart moment. These guys really prefer full sun, so they're not gonna probably do as well as they should under the corn. So my plan is to very, very, very carefully try to go in and get all the soil out from underneath and around them and very gently transplant them into one of my, I have these black grow bags. I have a couple more. I'm going to try to transplant them so I can put them out here in full sun and just pray that it doesn't shock them too much, that they don't decide to stop producing. But these are supposed to be very quick. I planted them a week and a half ago. These are only supposed to take 50 days to maturity. So I definitely still have time to get some Rondinese zucchini off of these. I'm very excited to try it. It's a beautiful looking squash. So that's on my list of things to do today, is try to transplant those. And then I'm just going to plant some more lettuces under this corn because it likes the shade. And the lettuces that I have planted right here in these bags, unfortunately, probably just get a little too much sun. They're doing okay. They're not totally dead. My romaine never came up. It never germinated. This strawberry cabbage lettuce, I don't know if you can see. You probably won't be able to see until it gets just a little bit bigger, but the leaves are variegated with pink spots. It's really, really pretty. So hopefully that survives and makes it. It actually looks like this one has a true leaf, so that's a good sign. Then this kale has just been happy to come to the party. This is definitely gonna have to be thinned. I had kid help planting and kind of oversowed this guy here, but that's okay. We'll have to thin it out and that will be just fine. And that is everything that's growing in my garden this week. Everything is just so lush and green. I love pulling up the driveway or looking out my bathroom window or looking out the kitchen window and seeing these beautiful plants growing. It just brings me so much joy. My garden has become such a source of peace and joy for me, and I'm so, so grateful for it. I'm so grateful to be growing food for my family. I'm so grateful for what I'm learning. It's just been amazing, and I'm really excited to see where it goes and where it grows and how it grows. It's gonna be awesome. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me today. I will see you next time.